Hey there, you beautiful badass. Welcome to the Keri Croft Show. I'm your host, Keri Croft, delivering you stories that get you pumped up and feeling like the unstoppable savage that you are. So grab your coffee, put on your game face, and let's do this thing, baby. Ready to elevate your self-care game? Boss Gal Beauty Bar is a modern med spa offering everything from cosmetic injectables, lasers and microneedling, to medical-grade facials and skincare. Conveniently located in Clintonville, Grandview, Powell, and Easton, making self-care a priority has never been easier. Use code CROFT for $25 off your first visit.
Summer's coming in hot, but is your skin summer ready? Fine lines, sun damage, melasma. If these are cramping your vibe, the Moxie Laser at Donaldson will leave you glowing. Nervous about lasering your face? I tried Moxie and it was quick and gentle, perfect for first-timers and all skin types. And my results? 10 out of 10. And if you're a first-timer at Donaldson, mention the Keri Croft Show for $100 off your Moxie treatment. Don't say I've never done anything for you.
Amy Nelson, welcome back to Ask Amy.
I'm so happy to be here.
I am so excited for you to be here. First of all, I love talking anything business. Mm-hmm. I love hearing how other people do it. I love watching people do it. I love doing it myself. And so I feel like you and I, we just lock right in, don't we?
We do. And here's the thing of why this is so amazing. We get to hear so many inspirational stories of people building cool things, but we don't often get to ask the questions of like the more tactical shit, right? And it's fun to talk about it. I think.
All right, so I just set our timer.
Okay, let's do it.
Because part of the goal of Ask Amy is no bullshit. Mm-hmm. This is all lean meat here, okay?
We don't have time for bullshit.
All lean meat. No, we're going to go right into the thing. We're going to answer questions and add as much value as we can. No fluff, all value. That should be your tagline. No fluff, all value. Okay, here we motherfucking go. So before we start, I do want a couple of highlights from the last show, your first inaugural show. Mm-hmm. One was women not asking for enough. I think when somebody asked you the question, what are some mistakes women make? And you said, ask for the farm. Put that in your brain, data collect that. And anytime that you are looking for something in business, you always ask for more. Yeah. All they can say is no, right?
Yeah, all they can say is no.
And then the art of networking. Yes. So those were two things that totally bubbled up for me. And so we'll have more stuff coming on that. All right, without further ado, let's see what we got here today. Ooh, so we're going to have a little focus here on partner and family support. So we've got some questions that we put together from some people about how you get supported externally when you're the woman in the business, which is really important. Mm-hmm. So how do you get your partner on board when you're making a big career change that impacts finances, time, and or stability?
I think you have to make it a joint project. And so with Carl, my husband, when I was starting the Riveter, every decision I made to make the pivot, he was part of because he needed to be comfortable with it from a financial standpoint and from a time standpoint. I mentioned in the last episode that when we thought about making the pivot, we made a financial spreadsheet of like, how long can we go continuing to pay for childcare and me not working? And part of the reason it was the how long can we go and still pay for childcare is because we needed full-time childcare. That was part of the bargain if we were going to do it. It wasn't that Carl was going to work less and step in or that we thought I could do it if I was working 10 hours a week. We knew that I needed to work a lot to make it work. So I think that was a big part of it, is that he was part of the calculation and part of figuring out what we needed around us to make it work for both of us, because we aren't doing these things in isolation. And so I think, bringing him into it was a big part of it. And then another big part of it for us, and I'm very fortunate for this, but like my mother had retired, and a big part of it for us was that my mom came to Seattle and stayed with us while we did this. Now the Riveter was, a specific thing in that I knew I was going to have to fly around the country. I was opening spaces in multiple states. I had to pitch investors in multiple states. And I needed my mom to be like a second parent to our third parent to our babies. And she was willing to do that. But we asked her for the help, because you have to ask for help from people around you. But again, it's all about like being transparent and bringing everyone on board.
What do you do if your partner or your family isn't supportive of your career pivot?
Ooh, that's a tough one, right? I think, there's a very real answer. Like if your partner is not supportive of it, I think you have to ask two questions. how does that make me feel if my partner isn't supportive of something that I dream of? And then second, can I do it if they won't be supportive? I could not have started the Riveter if my husband hadn't supported the idea and reshaped our lives around it. It wouldn't have been doable, which goes to the point, I think it's important to talk about things like this before you enter into a long-term partnership. Like, what do you want? You know, there was never a moment that my husband imagined that I would be a full-time, non-working mother. He knew I wanted kids, and he never thought that I would be the one taking care of them all day. It's wonderful if you want to do that. I did not want to do that. So I think, I think that's a question you have to ask yourself when that arises. If you do think that you can do it without the support of your family or your partner, when you are making your plans, don't count on their support, right? When you're making plans for how much time do I need or money or, these things, like you're doing that without the puzzle pieces around you. And so make that part of your plan.
Choppy waters ahead, y'all.
Yeah.
Choppy waters ahead. How do you balance risk-taking in business with the responsibilities of being a mom or a primary caregiver? Which I think you kind of touched on with your mom helping and...
Yeah, I mean, I would also say the idea of balance in anything is impossible. And I don't think we should be striving for it. I, a long time ago, came to the realization that like work-life balance was like a made-up bullshit phrase that doesn't exist. Because first of all, there's no standard of balance that is the same for everybody, right? There's what you want your life to look like. And there's also like the idea that balance on one day isn't balance on the other day. Our lives, the demands change. The demands change with the season of your kids' ages, which you don't understand until you're in it with your children. I thought having babies was hard. I now think having babies was very easy mentally, hard physically. Now that my kids are older, I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard mentally. And it's for me, the mental tough parts are much harder than the physical hard parts were. But I don't think you should chase balance. That's all to say that. I think you should worry about, are you able to do what you want to do the best way you can do it on any given day, which again changes. But like for me, and this is good or bad, you could judge me as a parent for this, but like I bring my kids along on the journey, right? Like they know that their mom and dad take massive swings, right? That's who we are. They might not be that person, but I want them to have visibility into who we are and that we do it. And we tell them it brings risk to their lives too, in certain ways. And I think kids are capable of understanding a lot more than we give them credit for. And so if you kind of bring them along on the journey, they will be more understanding and a part of it.
I like what you said about, well, first of all, I agree with the balance thing. But when you said your goal should just be to do the best you can on any given day. When you zoom in like that and just focus on that day and just really doing the best you can, I think that's less overwhelming. Yeah. I think it's highly concentrated. Like I can do that. I can actually do my best for this one day. Mm-hmm. And then the next day comes and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it again. Yeah. But when you're looking at the landscape and you're like, oh, I need to find balance in this crazy terrain. I'm looking out into the distance. I don't know. I like that. Another good piece of sage wisdom from Amy Nelson.
But it is also like it's a skill I use to cope with trauma too, right? Or anything hard. Like this isn't trauma, but I'm lifting weights. If I'm like, I cannot do 12 reps. Yeah. I'm like, well, then do 2, right? And then you can do the next 2 and the next 2. And when life is overwhelming or shit is too hard, like that you can't think about doing the best for the whole day, think about doing the best until you get to lunch or doing the best you can do for the next hour. Yep. Right? It's okay to chop up hard things into very small, manageable bites.
Listen, nobody loves laundry day. But thanks to the Fluff, laundry is officially off your to-do list. Just schedule your pickup on the Fluff app, toss your dirty clothes in any bag you've got, and leave it on your front porch. The Fluff handles the rest, returning your laundry fresh, folded, and in our reusable vinyl bag in just 24 to 48 hours. Flat rate pricing means you stuff the bag full, and yes, pickup and delivery are totally free in Central Ohio. Use promo code Keri for 20% off your first order. P.S. Ask about our monthly subscription to keep life simple and your laundry done.
Hey, Maria Milligan here with RE/MAX Premier Choice. Being a realtor here means being part of a community. I'm more than just a business card. I'm someone you'll see around town. I build trust with my clients because I care about this community and the people in it. Ready to take that next step? Let's do it together. Text me at 614-314-1355.
Who says you need a special occasion to feel like a celeb? I mean, stress is real. Life is busy. And your scalp? Yeah, it deserves some love too. That's where Headspace by Mia Santiago comes in. Treat yourself or someone who deserves it to a luxurious scalp treatment and a killer blowout or cut, because nothing says main character energy, honey, like a fresh style from celebrity stylist Mia and her team. And because we love a good deal, mention the Keri Croft Show and get 20% off your service or any gift card for somebody in your life that you love. Headspace by Mia Santiago, because great hair days shouldn't be rare. Back to finances. What are some strategies for handling financial pressure when transitioning into something new?
There are a lot of people in the world who avoid looking at money or understanding money because it's scary. I think the best thing that you can do is to maintain knowledge over your finances and the landscape that you're living in. Like if I know as a solopreneur, what are my expenses? What is my revenue? Where am I? Right? And that gives me peace at night. You have levers you can pull up and down. If you have a company with a number of employees, like you should know, when am I getting into trouble with being able to maintain the current level of my workforce? How many contracts do we need, right? Just kind of, you need to have visibility into all of it, understand the basics, and know when you can ramp up or you need to pull back. And it's just having control over it is having knowledge over it.
How can women set boundaries with their partners and families so they can fully commit to their business goals?
I feel a lot the same about boundaries as I do about balance. It's just so hard to implement those kind of like lines in the sand, because life isn't something you can draw lines in the sand on in most cases. I think it goes back to open dialogue, transparency, communication. Like when I say my husband was on board with this, he is, but like there were times when we got in massive blow-ups about either of us needing more time or our kids needing more of us and we didn't know how to give it to them. But the best you can do is constantly communicate what you're doing, what you need, what's coming up, and also kind of like where you're scared and where you need more support. I think that's a big piece of it too. So I think just trying to keep open lines of communication about it.
So what's the best way to find a mentor or community when making a big career shift?
I don't love the idea of trying to find a mentor. I think the best mentors in your life are people that you meet in one way or another who you connect with and become your mentors. I had a mentor in terms of raising money from VCs, and he was a former Microsoft marketing guy who became a VC, and he approached me because he wanted me to be a guest speaker at his class at the University of Washington. And he came and he met me because he wasn't just going to ask me on email. And we spent time together, and I was telling him about the Riveter. And he said, this is an amazing business and you're an amazing founder and you have no idea how to sell your story. And so he taught me how to and became my mentor. And I mean, I'm very convinced I couldn't have had the successes I had without his absolutely stellar guidance. But like, I didn't go out and seek a mentor to help me raise VC capital. I knew I needed one, but I thought I would find one along the way, and I did. And so I would just advise you to keep an eye out and an ear open to finding a mentor within the relationships you're creating. Mm-hmm. And then when you do, latch on, hold on, ask for help. And then also reciprocate and try to provide value, service, friendship, to the people who are giving you their time and their wisdom. So I think that's a big one. As far as community, I think it's incredibly important to try to find a community of people that you can share your struggles with, get feedback from, who can connect you. And that is different for everyone. I think you have to find, is there a great community that's, involved in what you're doing? Or is it something that will rise more organically? The Riveter, what we do, right, is build community and network and skills around pivots. But there are amazing other communities for everything someone's doing. There are communities of CFOs, where people can talk about those specific struggles. Like there's EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, where certain sized CEOs of certain sized businesses, not certain sized CEOs, but certain CEOs of certain sized businesses. If you're under 5'4", no. It's like, no, but it's CEOs of certain sized businesses can get together and share experiences, which is really important because they can't complain to their employees or get feedback, so they have to, to meet with other people. But I think finding community is really important. And so just go out there and figure out where your people are.
And another thing I would add to that is always thinking about paying it forward too, regardless of where you are in your career path, you can be a mentor for others. And I think when you're looking from that perspective, I always think like the universe kind of pays you back in ways. So like, don't always just be thinking, how can someone help me out there? Help somebody else with nothing in your mind to get in return other than just feeling good that you did it.
Yeah.
Those are always very helpful things to put in the universe.
And if you don't know how to be of service and help people, here's an idea that helps everybody and helps you. You should start telling the world what you're good at and providing value and service. You can do it on social media. Mm-hmm. You could, if you say you're a podcast producer, and this can also help you find a mentor, start posting about producing podcasts. Start telling people everything you know about how to do your job. They're not going to then not hire you because they're not going to say, well, I've learned everything I can from this person. I don't need a podcast producer. Like they're going to hire you. And that is a way to be of service to people everywhere and at scale. Just give away the farm. Tell them everything.
Yeah, if you're still gatekeeping out there, you're so circa like you're not in the 2025s.
Yeah.
Gatekeeping is, it's so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of information out there. People can figure things out, but you can't replace who you are and your unique value. So when you open the kimono authentically, it will always pay dividends. It will never short side you.
It's the same thing, too, for the importance of building your network and building your community, because one of the things that people will still come to you for, even if you do give away the farm and all your expertise, is how you put those things together and who you connect it to, right? And so that it's another way to be of service.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you get in the right rooms when transitioning into a new industry without feeling like an outsider?
I mean, you have to ask people to put you in the rooms. And then you have to also show up in the rooms yourself, even if you don't know a single person there and it feels scary. So I remember when I started raising money for politicians, I did it because I had worked in politics, but I had then, become a lawyer, and that was my full-time job, but I still wanted to stay involved in politics. And I thought, well, I'm in Manhattan. I can raise money. There are a lot of very wealthy people here. And so I started talking to people about what I was doing and also trying to learn more. And I went to a women's campaign forum training that was 3 days. I didn't know anybody there. It was in DC. I lived in New York, but I went and did it over a weekend. And the whole weekend I sat next to this lady who was in her 70s. And she was so interesting, but I had no idea who she was. And I thought she was just like me, wanting to raise money. And we, built a friendship. But like I went to this room where I didn't know anybody. I made a friend. I put myself out there. And she was 50 years older than me. She also lived in New York. And when we got back to New York, she invited me to her home. And she sent the address. And I was like, this lady lives on Central Park. Like, what? Who is it? And it turned out she was this amazing woman. And she was Senator John Hines's stepsister. And she started inviting me into rooms full of people where I didn't feel like I belonged, but she felt like I belonged. But by putting myself out there, opening myself up to new experiences, ultimately I became someone who belonged in those rooms, right? And like that's how you get there. You show up and you talk to people and stay.
Yeah, and you know what? Just don't be afraid to be an outsider for a minute. Everybody starts. I mean, it's okay if you're uncomfortable and you have to sort of, again, going back to the cold calling, differentiating yourself, showing up, being uncomfortable. It's just part of the process.
It is. And like we force our 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds to do it, right? They show up for school and they don't know anybody and they have to go into a classroom and spend 8 hours a day there. Kids do this stuff all the time. You can do it as a grown-up too.
All right. So that wraps another episode of Ask Amy.
All right.
Riveting.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, the goal for the next episode is to have live call-ins. So we're going to stay on the edge of our seats because that's going to be even better.
Yes.
But until then, just send us a DM or send us an email if you want to ask Amy. And if you're still out there following your girl, follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, keep moving, baby.